All right. So before we get started on SQL joins, I just want to go over the schedule and talk about a couple things. So today, it's the second to last day I'm going to be taking attendance. So basically, Friday's class is optional. I've posted the terms that will be on exam 2. So you should be able to look through those. If you feel pretty confident about all of them, then you don't have to come to the exam review. If you have any questions, you'll have the opportunity to ask anything you want during the exam review on Friday. So if that's something you need to attend, make sure that you do. Then Monday, it's going to be an online exam. So I think what I'll do is I'll have it open from 8 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. on Monday. Does that sound fair? So you'll still have 55 minutes to take it. Just like you have every other exam. It's only one exam, but basically it'll be roughly 20 questions, 10 multiple choice, 10 short answer. Short answer are probably going to be, for the most part, they're going to be reading and giving a SQL statement. So just like a one-line SQL statement, like select star from table, that sort of thing. So same sort of stuff I've been doing in class past couple days and today as well. And then you'll see that the other day I'll be taking attendance. It's going to be the project introduction. So it's going to be the day after the exam. I'll also go over the exam on that day. So that's the last day I'm taking attendance. All right. I will say this. I'll be here these other days. I'll be in this room probably either here in my lab or in my office upstairs, one of those three places. If there's enough people here, I'll definitely stick around in here just in case y'all have any questions while you're working on the project. But I don't require that you attend any of these days. All right. Presentation day, you probably want to attend. All right, that's going to be the final exam day. Okay. So basically, you have the final exam on I think for 905 it's going to be on May 10th. All right. So you've got a 2-hour block from 7:30 in the morning to 9:30. Probably sucks getting here at 7:30, doesn't it? All right. Well, I apologize. I don't control that. But just keep that in mind. That's when that'll be. All right. Any questions? And, we'll probably end up just doing everything on the final day instead of having this Friday. That way you have time to study for your other classes. Does that sound good? All right. Because honestly, if there's 6 or 7 groups, we can easily fit them in a 2-hour block, right? I think so. Yeah, so basically, like I say, really wrapping up the semester. Today's all about joins. So if you would, go back into Canvas. And if you scroll all the way down, I posted this text file. It's called Join Raw SQL. You'll just download it and then open it up and just copy and paste the contents once we get to that point. But that's basically what we're doing today. So go ahead and open up PG Admin and go ahead and also copy this. But before we do that, though, we need to talk about what joins are. Okay, so joins are whenever we're joining 2 or more tables. And we do that based on something they have in common. Okay, and that something is going to be a column. Okay, so most of the time, we think back to the ERD. Okay, so we had entity A and we have entity B. Okay, and we join them by some column that they have in common. Now, generally speaking, it's going to be the primary key in entity A, and it's probably going to be the primary and foreign key in entity B, generally speaking. Doesn't have to be, though. Okay? And in fact, they don't even have to share the same name, do they? Okay, so they don't. We could call one of them over in entity A, we could call it person ID. Okay? And maybe in entity B, maybe it's not a primary key. Maybe we have a foreign key for manager. So maybe this entity A, let's say it were an employee table. And let's say entity B, let's say it were a department table. Okay, so what this is saying is that the manager is going to be a person ID. Does that make sense? So those two things, we can do a join based on them. Okay? Did I lose anyone? Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? So this is a general syntax of how this works. Okay, you have a select statement, and you're selecting whatever. So if you're selecting all the columns, what would that be? Okay, it'd be an asterisk. Okay. If you're selecting just certain columns, you'd list off the certain columns. All right. Then you're going to say from whatever your first table is. Okay, so you just say, in this case, we could use employee. We're going to get to a specific example in a minute. So I'm just going to leave it generic at table 1. And then you say join table 2 on table 1 dot column equals table 2 dot column. Okay. That's the general format that we're going to see for a join. All right, table 1 is just going to be the first table. All right, and the column, again, it's going to be the column that they have in common. Doesn't even have to be the same name. All right, so what this would look like if we were doing this employee and department example is we would say select star from, our first table is going to be employee. Then we would say join. And table 2 is what? Which table are we joining to employee? Department. Okay, then we say on, and we say table 1. So table 1 is first table inside the statement, which is going to be employee. And we say dot column. Now, we know the column that we're going to use in employee is what? Okay, it's going to be person ID, right? Then we say equals table 2, which is going to be, what table is 2? So table 1 is right here. So what's table 2? Department. Department dot, and then what are we going to use for that column? Manager. Okay. That's a general syntax we're going to be using for the joins. Allie. So in general, it's going to share the same name in most cases. In this case, it doesn't. But if you're making the database, you're going to know that a manager is basically referencing back because it's a foreign key to the person ID. So you're just going to have to look at your database, and you're going to have to see which columns are the same. So we'll see some more examples as we go. But in general, that's how we write out the syntax. Does that make sense? So it's just going to be which columns are the same. Any other questions? So does everyone understand the general format that we're using? Again, it's always going to go inside of a select statement. Just like before, you say where you're getting it from. The only stuff we're adding is just saying join, whatever table we're joining. Then we say what the condition is. It's always going to be the first table dot the column equals the second table, which comes from right here, dot the column. Now you can add additional stuff beyond that, but that's the general format. All right. So SQL has 5 primary types of joins. All right, make sure you write these down. Does anyone still need this ERD thing? Okay. So everyone's familiar with a Venn diagram, right? Okay, so the idea behind a Venn diagram is, okay, you have 2 things, and basically the intersection is what they have in common, right? So if I were to list, say, me and you, okay, so I am me, all right? We are both people, all right, but you are you, all right? And you can fill this out however you feel it makes sense. Just a quick example to demonstrate how these are used. So this would be characteristics of me. This would be characteristics of you. But the idea is that the stuff in here does not apply to you. Stuff in here does not apply to me. Stuff in the middle is what we have in common. All right, is anyone confused by the concept of a Venn diagram? All right, and the reason I ask is because we're going to explain the different types of joins using Venn diagrams. So the first, and by the way, this is a default join. So when you just say join, you're going to use this type of join. It's called an inner join. Okay, and what you're having is you're having table 1 and table 2. Okay, and then the intersection, so what they have in common is what will be returned. All right. And again, when you don't specify the type of join in SQL, this is what it's going to give you. Any questions? So you're probably going to see a multiple choice test question about what is the default type of join in SQL. What would that answer be? Be it inner. Okay. All right. Next, you have the full. Okay, as the name full would imply, it's both the left table, the intersection, and the right table. Literally everything gets returned. All right. You have an outer join. This is not going to be quite as common, but basically it's the opposite of an inner join. It returns what they don't have in common. Okay, now finally, we have 2 more. Okay, we have left and a left join. Okay, the left table is always going to be table 1 because it's the table that comes first. So this is always going to be table 1. It's going to return everything from table 1 and also from the intersection. Okay, and then of course the second table is going to be the right table, so table 2. All right, and if we have a left, what do we probably also have? Okay, so we have a right. Okay, and what we're doing is basically the opposite of left. Whoops. So we have table 1, and then we have table 2. And it's going to return everything from the intersection and from table 2. Now, the good news is that for this class, it's not really an advanced database class. Every join we're going to do is going to be an inner join. And also, that's going to be the default type of join. So we're never going to specify a type of join here in this class. Does that make sense? But having said that, I think it's important to know the different types of joins. All right? So you need to understand what they all are and what they represent. Does that make sense? All right, any questions about joins? So again, we're not going to do this in this class, but all you would do if you wanted to use, say, a full join, just before join, you would say full. Okay? Same thing if you want to specify a left join. Literally all you do is just before join, you specify the type. But just to review, if you don't specify the type, which type is it going to default to? Inner. Exactly right. All right, you guys ready to do it? You got a question? So that would be a left join if you're also including what's shared. So I think what you're asking is, does this exist? It would just be a select without a join, because you'd only be getting the stuff from one table. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Yeah. So that's a good question. Microsoft Access is somewhat of a SQL implementation. So I think I mentioned earlier in this semester, there's a lot of different SQL implementations we could use. Microsoft Office, or Microsoft Access rather, is part of Microsoft Office. And I'm just being honest, it's terrible. Okay, it's very slow to process. It's very inefficient in terms of like data storage. It's not something you're going to be using in an enterprise environment ever. I'm not saying that PostgreSQL is what you would be using. I just think it's a whole lot more likely than Access to be used. A lot of big corporations use Postgre. A lot of big corporations use Oracle solutions. A lot of big corporations use Microsoft SQL Server. So even Microsoft themselves don't use Access for anything of any importance at all. Does that make sense? Because they use their SQL Server for a lot of stuff. And, they also use some open source databases as well for various things. Any other questions? All right. So go ahead and grab the file if you haven't already. Open up pgadmin. All right. And again, just like before, go ahead and sign in. And I'm going to create a new schema. All right. So I'm going to create a schema. And I'm going to call this day 3. Okay. So from day 3, I'm going to right-click on it, go to Query Tool. And this is going to give me a blank query that we can work with. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that information. Okay, so I don't think we really need to go over this a whole lot. Okay, it's basically just creating a table and inserting data into it. All right, Jeff. So you won't be able to do it on the school computer. You'll have to use a personal computer. All right, but it's going to be called the SQL JOIN, something like that. It'll be at the very bottom of Canvas inside the course. All right, so I don't think we need to go through the details of this. I think we've pretty much covered creating tables, adding data to tables, that sort of stuff. So let's just go ahead and go through one line at a time. And I'm just going to first drop all these tables. Okay. And then I'm just going to create these tables. So we're going to start off creating our person table. Okay, and we successfully created it. Now I'm going to create the course table. Successfully created that. Now I'm going to create the section table. Successfully created the section table. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and create the registration table. And so we successfully created that as well. All right, is everyone to this point? Okay, so next we're just going to insert some values into the different tables. So first we're going to insert into the person table. Next we're going to insert into the course table. So adding in some courses here. All right, now for CRM. And finally, for registration. Okay. So is everyone able to get everything imported okay? So we talked about the general format for doing a join. All right, so we're going to start off with a first table. So if we look back up at our tables, we have person, we have course, we have section, and registration. So is it fair to say we could join person to registration? Okay, because person has an ID number, and we come down here to registration, it also has ID number. So can we join those two tables based on that? We can. So let's first see what it looks like if we do select star from person. Okay. Because this is going to give us everything inside the person table. All right, so we have our single person. Okay. And next, let's say we wanted to select star from registration. Okay, so that returns everything we have in the registration table. Okay, so if I want to join person to registration, all I'm going to do, just like we did up here, I'm going to say select star from person join registration on person.idno equals, that's going to be registration.idno. That's all I'm going to do, right? So let's do that. All right. And when we run this, what should change from the person output? Okay, so a lot of things changed, did they not? So now we have 4 instances of Oscar because he's registered for 4 things, is he not? Okay. So we have all of the regular columns from table 1. Then if we scroll over, we can see the CRNs that Oscar is registered for. All right, is everyone following me so far? Do I need to go over anything, explain stuff a different way, anything, let me know. Let's look back up at our tables. We have person, course, section, and registration. Okay, so section has CRN. Okay, and registration also has CRN. So can we join registration and section? Okay, we can. So how would we do that? Okay, so I'm going to first type select, and I'm going to say star from. We said the first table was going to be section, join registration on section dot CRN equals registration dot CRN. Okay, and is this all I have to do to join the 2 tables together? Should be. All right, and you can tell that most of what we have inside a section is null. Why is that? Okay, think about when we were inserting data into it. All we inserted was the single CRN column. Is that correct? So therefore, all this is going to be null. All right. Now you'll notice we don't have anything for CRN5. Okay, why is that? So we have CRN 1 through 4, but not for CRN5. Why do we not have anything for CRN5? Think back to the different types of joins. Which one are we doing? We're doing inner. Okay? So inner has what they have in common. Okay, so section has CRN5. Does registration have CRN5 anywhere? No, it doesn't. It just has 1, 2, 3, and 4. It doesn't have 5. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? Now, if we wanted to see 5, well, like I said, I'm not going to do anything beyond inner joins in this class. But if I wanted to, could I not change this join and just say full join? I could. I'm not going to, but I could. All right. So we've joined 2 tables together. Can we join more than 2 tables together? Okay, so the answer is we can. And basically what we do, see how we just kind of ended on table 2? You just add on another join condition. All right, so if we want to join person to registration and then join that to section, all we're going to do is we're just going to start off by basically copying this. All right, but instead of having a semicolon at the end, we're going to remove the semicolon, hit enter, and we're going to say join section on, and we'll say registration dot CRN equals section dot CRN. All right, what this will allow us to do is to join more than 2 tables together. All right, so now we have everything from person, registration, and section. A couple other things I want to cover. that we haven't covered up to this point that I think are still important to know. Okay, so we have ways to order things. Okay, what I mean by order is really sort. So if I wanted to sort the output, what I would use is I would use order by. And then I just say which column I want to order by. All right. So I could just do select star from, I'll do person. Well, person only has one thing in it. Let's do section. And I will say order by, and we will order by CRM. Okay. So when we do that, you can see it's ordered by CRM. Okay, so basically all we're doing there is we're just adding on a way to order things. All right, any questions about joins? Let's go ahead and do the homework, the lab. So let's come into assignments. It's gonna be lab 6, isn't it? All right, let's just get the instructions. So download these. All right, so I'm just gonna open these up and we'll do them together. How's that sound? Okay. So we have an inventory table. Let me undo that. We have an inventory table and it has these columns. We want to turn them in that order. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say select. And how do we change the order of columns in output? We talked about this last class. How do we change that? It's literally just the order we have them in the select is the order they'll appear in the output, right? We're not talking about changing the order of the actual results of a particular column. We're talking about how do we change the order inside of the order the columns appear. So we just say select item quantity, item price, and item no. And we know it's from the inventory table, so we just say from inventory. All right, is that all we have to do for number 1? I think so. We'll come back to number 2. All right, number 3, provide a query to determine the total inventory value from the inventory table. All right, and we're going to call it inventory value. So what we're doing is we're saying select sum item quantity times item price as inventory value from inventory. All right, is that all we have to do for that one? All right, number 4, provide a query to determine the mean sale quantity from the sale table. Well, mean is going to be which function, which aggregate function? It's going to be AVG. So we say select AVG sale quantity from sale. Okay. Is everyone with me so far? Now, for number 2, all right, whoops, that was the wrong button. All right, for number 2, we know that both the inventory table and the sale table have which column? Do they both have item number? Is that fair to say? They do. Okay, if you were to look at the tables, they both have item number. That's what they have in common. So just a basic join, I'm going to say select star from inventory, join sale on, we'll say inventory dot item now equals sale dot item now. All right, is that all we have to do for that one? So that's it. That's lab 6. All right, any questions? All right, when's lab 6 due? It's due Friday at 11:59 p.m. Do you have any reason not to submit it? Hopefully not. All right, I just gave you all the answers, didn't I? All right. But seriously, if you're confused by anything, let me know. Got office hours today from 11:10 until 12:20 and 050, so just around the corner there. Feel free to join office hours if you need to. Join office hours. We talked about joins today. We'll also have an optional review on Friday. I already kind of talked about the format of everything. So that's all I got for today. We covered joins. So I will see you all on either Friday or Wednesday. Take your pick. Good luck on the exam. I'll stick around if you have any questions.